Hi, third graders, welcome back. So today we are going to start a brand new adventure. So we have spent the last 6 weeks spending time in literary stories. So we've been reading a lot of fiction. We've been learning about characters, their traits, their feelings, their motivations. We've been recounting stories using different methods like story mountains and five-finger recounting. And we've also done some work with central message and the lessons that characters learn in stories that we read. But today we are shifting gears. Today we begin a journey into reading nonfiction informational text. So we're going to shift gears and begin reading books that teach us things about different topics or different ideas. And we're going to be reading lots and lots of nonfiction books. So it's going to be very important that you have access to nonfiction informational books. So you might have some at home in your home library if you have one. Your teacher might send some home in your go home bag. And of course, there's always Myon. And there are tons and tons of informational books on Myon. So all of these books are somewhere at your fingertips, whether you already have them at home, whether your teacher is sending them home, or whether you're finding them on Myon. So that is something we're going to need to make sure that we have access to throughout the next 6 weeks. Something else that we'll need for today's lesson is our reading journal, as always, or something to write on, and a pencil. So let's get this journey started. Grab the things that you need, and we'll get going. So today we begin Module B, Unit 1, with Reading Lesson 1. And our learning target today is readers ask and answer questions to demonstrate understanding of informational text. So we're going to be asking and answering questions that show others that we understand the text that we're reading. And remember, we're staying in informational nonfiction text throughout this journey. Let's get going.
So today I'm going to show you how readers ask and answer questions to demonstrate understanding of a text. And as you can see, I have chosen an informational text. It is called Snakes. Learn the secrets of these cold-blooded creatures. So this is the text that I'm going to be using today. And as you can see on this slide, there are a few questions that we're going to be asking as we look at informational nonfiction text today. We might not necessarily be reading entire texts. We're going to be more like exploring the text and the different parts of informational text, because that's an important part of shifting gears from reading literary stories to reading informational nonfiction text. So the first question I'm going to ask as a reader is, what is the text mainly about? And the way that I'm going to figure that out is I'm just going to do a little bit of walking through the text and looking at the images in the text, text features, and things like that. So let me do that work. So on the front cover, I can see that the title is Snakes, a picture of a snake. More snakes. Ooh, okay. This could be helpful later on. Snake secrets revealed. Here's a diagram of a snake. So even though I've only walked through just a few pages of this text, I see lots and lots of pictures of snakes. I see the word snakes a lot in the text. Look at this. All these times, okay? So I think that I can safely answer this question, what is the text mainly about? I can answer that by saying this text is mainly about snakes, okay? So that's my first question. Next, I need to answer the question, how do you know? So how do I know this book is mostly about snakes? Well, I sort of answered that question for myself already. So there are lots and lots of pictures of snakes in the text. If I keep turning, I'm going to find more and more snakes. But not only do I see pictures of snakes, I'm going to look back. The title of the book is Snakes. And then remember how I said the word snakes is popping up over and over again in the text. So that is how I know this text is mostly about snakes. So let's move on to the next question. My next question is, what features did you notice in the text? And this is something, boys and girls, that is very important as we're reading informational nonfiction text. Text features are going to be very important. We have to pay attention to the things that the author has included in the text. So I'm going to flip back to the beginning of this text and notice some of those features. So the first thing on the front cover I notice is that there is a photograph of a snake. That is a text feature. Then if I turn a couple of pages, remember this part? This is the table of contents. So if I only want to read a particular chapter or a particular part of this book, the table of contents tells me exactly what page to go to. Say I want to read chapter 3, Hissing Hunters. All I would need to do is turn to page 16. That's an important feature. If I flip through a few more pages, I see more photographs. This is good. Here's a caption. I know it's a little blurry, but it says Emerald Tree Boa. That caption, that's another text feature, tells me what kind of snake this is in this photograph. So that's another text feature. This is another text feature. It's a diagram that actually tells me about the different parts of snakes. So not only does it tell me about the part, what part it is, but it gives a little description. Did you know snakes didn't have ears? So these are just some of the text features that I've noticed as I walk through this text. Have you noticed how much I've learned about snakes and about this text? And I haven't even started reading it yet. So just taking this little browse through is helping me as a reader get ready to read this text. All right, so now I've noticed a few features. I could continue turning through the pages of this text and probably find some more. Like even here, let me get the glare off of it, is a subheading that tells me what this part of the text is going to be about. It says some snakes stay with their eggs and keep them warm. And then this text would tell me a little bit more about how or why some snakes stay with their eggs and keep them warm. So that's just another feature. Now the last question that we need to ask and then answer to demonstrate understanding of informational text is, what predictions can you make about what the text might mostly be about? So boys and girls, based on everything that I have learned so far, by just doing a little bit of exploring with this text called Snakes, I can predict that this text is obviously all about snakes, but it's going to be telling me different things about snakes. If I go back to the table of contents, snake secrets, snakes alive, hissing hunters, so how they hunt, what scares snakes. So based on these things, I'm going to predict that this text is going to tell me all about snakes, maybe where they live, what they eat, what they hunt, and maybe, based on chapter 4, what scares snakes. Maybe that chapter is about predators that prey on snakes. So that, boys and girls, is how we ask and then answer questions to demonstrate understanding of informational
All right, third graders, you know the drill. Now that I've shown you what this work looks like, it's your turn. So here's what you're going to do. First, you're going to need to select one nonfiction text. Remember we talked about earlier on in the lesson, you might have some nonfiction informational texts at home, or your teacher may have sent a few home in your go home bag, or there is always MyON. So you can search for different types of informational nonfiction text on MyON. So that's the first step. Choose one text, just one for today. After you've chosen that text, you'll move to step 2. Take a few minutes to skim through the book. Notice the text features and things like that, sort of like I did with my book, Snakes. And then last but not least, once you've done a little bit of exploring, you'll answer the questions on the chart. So the first question that you're going to answer is, what is the text mainly about? And that's probably going to just be 1 or 2 words based on the topic of the text. So mine was snakes, remember? After you've decided and answered that question, you're going to answer the question, how do you know? And just like I did, the way that I knew was by looking at the details in the text features, what the text said. I saw the word snakes over and over again. On to question 3, you're going to talk about what features you noticed in the text. So remember how I took a little bit of a walk through my book? I found that table of contents, I found a subheading, I found a caption, I found a diagram of a snake. So look for the types of text features that the author included in your nonfiction text. And last but not least, you're going to answer the question based on your answers to these first 3 questions and what you've seen in the text. You're going to ask and answer, what predictions can you make about what the text might mostly be about? So not just the topic, which for me would be snakes, but what am I going to learn about snakes in this book? So remember in my prediction, I talked about I might learn what snakes eat, where they live, what they hunt, who hunts them, just based on what I saw as I took a little exploration through the text. So now it's your turn. Are you ready for this? I know you are. Off you go.